Welcome back, adventurers, to Let's Play Riven, the sequel to Myst. When last we left off, we had managed to enter into the age that is the hideout of the Black Moiety. However, we were drugged and captured by two individuals of the Black Moiety. One of them was the prisoner in the cell, and the other was the very individual that took the linking book, well, the prison book, I should say, that had been apprehended by one of Gen's guards. I woke up to find myself in this chamber of sorts, in the center of the moiety hideout, and a woman appeared. And she delivered two books. One of them was a journal, and the other was the prison book that had been taken, which is now back in our possession. But now I am going to have a further look at this journal. And knowing how long Atrus's journal is, I'm certain that this one will take a very long while. I linked the Riven a week ago. The smell of the place overwhelmed me moments before I could see anything. So judging from this handwriting, I believe that this is Catherine's journal. With my sight only partially cleared, I stood motionless, peering ahead through a dim veil which was slowly lifting. There was a violent clang, and bars appeared. I remember breathing slowly and very deeply, tasting the familiar riven air, but not recognizing a thing. I must have been hit with the dart on right away. I thought it was an insect bite at first. So it seems that Catherine was caught in the same bars that we were upon linking to Riven, which is fairly understandable. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that there was... Well, I have to keep reading the journal. I'm trying to remember it all, but it's different. Maybe because of the drug. There was a voice. A man I did not recognize stood before me, Rivenese, though he was wearing dunny dress. He seemed to be talking to me, but the poison was already taking effect. A shadow crept in, and I fell asleep. So she was interrogated by the same guard. Then there were many voices, but I understood none of them. Like hundreds of people whispering. I couldn't wake up. So it appears that what happened to the guard wasn't the first time that happened. So it appears that Catherine was rescued by the Black Moiety, pretty much in the same vein that we were. No matter, the dream did end. And now, to be here with Gati. It's been so many years. I didn't realize how much I missed her, like a piece of me that I'd forgotten. I'd lost. She's beautiful and so full of warmth, but the years have also left her with a wound which was not there when we were children. I do wish she were more interested. There appears to be a piece of paper in here. Appears to be written by Catherine, so this is indeed her journal. I write quickly from my prison. Nelah will return your book, which the moiety intercepted upon your arrival. After questioning her, I concluded it was written by Atrus for a very specific purpose. Gen will desire to use it, although he may have suspicions. If he can find my prison, you will still need the combination to release me. Gen keeps it in his office. Then I assume we're to signal Atrus. I think I know how it might be done, but don't signal him before I am released. Catherine. So Catherine and the moiety have been keeping in contact, even though she's been confined by Gen. And, of course, we now know who the woman is, Nelah, who returned us the prison book, which was very nice of her. It also says in the letter that Gen may be suspicious of the prison book. It's not like Atrus to suddenly have a means of escape, even if he himself is not here, for a linking book to make its way into Riven, despite Atrus's precautions, is kind of counterproductive. And Gen is nothing, if not a cautious individual. He said it himself. Even he doesn't, he of all people doesn't trust the words of most men. And of course, we have to signal Atrus after we rescue Catherine, which is very important indeed. And the combination to a lock is in Gen's office. But first we need to be able to get to it. It's been so many years. I didn't realize how much I missed. No, I've already read this. I do wish you were more interested. It seems like I'm asking all the questions. It's awkward. No one asks me where I've been, or what I've been doing. This hurts, but I understand it. Their beliefs are born out of ignorance and oppression. They are a gentle people. But they've had their nest destroyed, and now they frantically cling to anything that might save them. But why have they chosen to cling to me? I'm confused. As a child, I always felt out of place here. I never belonged. They misunderstood me, and I couldn't relate to them. But now I am overwhelmed by an intense feeling that I owe everything to them and this place. I thought I would never see them again, and yet I'm here. I've been given the second chance. But a second chance of what? Saving them? Fulfilling their prophecies? Being their savior? Well, considering the fact that you were tricked into coming here in the first place by Sirius and Agnar, who managed to convince you that Atrus had, beyond all comprehension, traveled to Riven alone, despite his, the possibility of being caught by Gen. This all seems a bit far-fetched in my opinion. The moiety. Atrus would want me to chronicle all that I've learned. I can at least record some of it. It seems that when Atrus and I trapped Gen on Riven many years ago, our efforts were witnessed by most of the inhabitants here. Two of the Rivenese even witnessed the confrontation with Gen at the fissure, where I linked back to Myst and where Atrus threw himself into the abyss. Of course, they understood little of what they were seeing, but they were somehow able to guess that we had won, that Gen was no god at all, but only a feeble impostor, a false god, and that we had trapped him here on Riven. I always hoped they would deduce this simple truth. but their further conclusions have astonished me. Gen had stripped Atrus of his power, therefore Atrus must be a true god. As a god, he was choosing me, the spiritual misfit from a Rivenese womb, to be his wife. I was transcending into a deity, and would lord over Riven forever. See what happens, Gen, when you use religious indoctrination, and when it completely backfires on you? You see what happens? It's almost as bad as the Goa'uld from Stargate SG-1. Although the Goa'uld didn't have the ability to link between worlds using books, but then again, they had spaceships and stargates and things like that to do that for them. But at least with a linking book, you don't really have to dial in a series of coordinates, because the book automatically links you there, but I'm getting off subject. Thus the Moiety, as they call themselves, were born a dissident society, sworn enemies of Gen. I did not know of their beliefs regarding Atrus and myself until 2 days ago. Gati was, for some reason, hesitant to tell me. I can't figure out why. I know she doesn't believe these things. Of course, everyone else assumed that I would be aware of my own god status, so they made no effort to inform me. I only realized it at a recent gathering to which I was invited. I sat at the front of a dimly lit, crowded cave as they told a mythical story of my own life, acting out the battle between Atrus, myself, and Gen at the edge of the fissure. The events had been exaggerated into grandiose proportions. It was offensive. But I was unable to stop it. I was unable to break the illusion which is the very foundation of their hope and purpose, and which has given them courage to band together and rebel against Gen. Since then I've learned of other doctrines and beliefs that have evolved, the most disturbing of which is the conviction that one day I would return to Riven to free them. Some believe that I would overthrow Gen, others believe I will bring them to paradise. I don't know how to deal with this. I fight it myself. I love these people, my only real kindred, but they will not love me as an equal, which hurts me. I would rather be their slave than their master. It appears to be markings and drawings of some kind, and another representation of the dagger. Over the years, as Gen's power has become greater and greater, the Moiety's numbers have grown, and they have become more and more adept at hiding themselves. They now live in a complex network of caves that he still has not discovered. The Moiety at this part have completely severed their relationship with any of the Rivenese that chose against joining them. But I hope they've not sacrificed vital limbs in order to remove the cancer. Even farther and I think that's Errant. I'm not sure what that is. Are still on the surface in Gen's domains, and I long to see them. But a dimness shrouds Gati's face every time I've mentioned them. Since this break took place, they have interfered with the surface in superficial ways, occasionally sabotaging one of Gen's constructions or stealing food from the villagers. They wear strange masks and costumes during their short forays to the island's surface, and I'm trying to read this handwriting of Catherine's, and take this very seriously, refusing to be seen by anyone outside the moiety unless they are properly... I think that's attired? I'm not sure. They get much pleasure out of the fact that those on the surface are frightened by these costumes, calling them evil spirits or ghosts. It was during one of these expeditions that they fastidiously rescued me from one of Gen's guards when I first appeared on the island. Otherwise, I am sure I would have been delivered to Gen immediately. I've no doubt that he is now searching for me. Of course, I am now aware that I was foolish. Atrus is not here. I was at first devastated by the realization. Now I am thankful. He would be in extreme peril here. Also, there is a quiet inner voice, an echoing remnant that wants him far away. Did I mention you were tricked by your two sons regarding this matter? Never mind, that's all in the past now. I've just witnessed an age dying, gasping its last breath. Today I ventured to the surface to see what has become of this island. I had hoped it would not be as bad as the moiety reported. It was worse. They have become slowly accustomed to its steady decay, but I was devastated. The lips from which the kiss is wrought has fallen words, will fall cold breath. The womb from which the cry released has suffered hurt, will suffer death. It's a very rather morbid poem that you've written there, Catherine. To get to the surface, we had to travel through a complex series of doors and passages. Before the last of these doors, they offered me a weapon, which I accepted, and then a mask. I held the mask in my hands for a while, wondering what sort of terror it might invoke in those members of my family who still live on the surface. But I also knew that I must keep my identity hidden from Gen's ever-vigilant eyes, so I accepted it as well. Then together, we swam a short expanse and emerged out of the surface of the ocean under a nearby rocky overhang. The harsh sunlight made my eyes sting, but the fresh, rich air was exhilarating after these past weeks in the dark caves. In the dank caves, one of the two. The two men with me were silent, communicating only with hand signals. I assume that these are the two men that we've encountered before. The three of us emerged from our hiding place and made our way to the top of the plateau. At the edge of a thick and overgrown area of the forest, they stopped, peered through the foliage for a moment, and then they turned to me, as if awaiting my command. But I could not respond. In fact, I found it difficult to move. I was smelling, hearing, and breathing my youth. This swept over me in a matter of seconds, but in seconds more all feeling was gone. This was numbness. There's a sketch of the jungle path. We did not stay long on the surface, but it was long enough to see the worst. Riven, which was once one island, has split apart into 5 distinct pieces, about half a mile apart. 4 of these have been claimed by Gen as his exclusive domain. Only his ministers and personal militia are even allowed access to them. From my vantage point at the edge of the forest, I could see 3 of these islands. They are stripped of their former beauty and are riddled with Gen's self-absorbed constructions. The Moiety rarely visit these closely guarded places. There is another island which I could not see, as it had evidently crept away to a terrific distance. The Moiety are very unclear as to what exists on this island, except for the fact they know it is where the great tree used to exist. So there is a tree, or was a tree, that is now Catherine's prison. The forest is located on the island that the surface dwellers and the Moiety still refer to as Riven, but they also still refer to their entire world as Riven. This island is where the village is, which has changed dramatically. It is also the one remaining province of the people, though Gen's influence can be seen everywhere. So there's the Temple Island, the Boiler Island, the Survey Island, and the Jungle Island. Of course I knew the reason for the fracturing of the island. The Moiety do not. Gen wrote this place, and it will die. As all Gen's ages eventually die. Oh, Gen didn't technically write Riven. He wrote the link to Riven, which was heavily flawed by his writing style, which is pretty much amounts to the same thing. So, but anyway, semantics. I feel nothing today. I am nothing. I live in a cave on a dying world, inhabited by people that they are treating me so strangely. They don't know how to relate to a god. I'm still an outcast here. They whisper amongst themselves, talking of my bravery during my excursion to the surface, how I walked across the island, bold and unafraid. They don't know me. Even Gati is uncomfortable around me. At times there is an awkwardness, and I am only Katran to her. But at other times I am something else. I am afraid. There is such Is that giant or gaunt or something? Or great? There is such a giant numbness inside me. Today I do not feel closeness with my people, nor am I offended by their worship of me. I do not hate again. I do not feel anything. I'm still not even sure of, at least Nelah is still close. So before Atrus and Gen, well, Before Atrus encountered her, Katrin was originally known as Katran, as, that was her name, when she was still an inhabitant of Riven, before Gen and Atrus came along. And there's the Riven motif that's been heavily scrolled out. And Catherine appears to have drawn another indicator of the Moiety dagger, which she has also scribbled out. I am boiling. Gen is making and writing books. I wish they had told me sooner. Atrus should have realized this would happen, of course. Gen would have written all of the materials necessary to the dunny craft of making books into this age, and probably every other age he ever wrote. Which is understandable, seeing as he's trying to create his own version of the dunny civilization. He is attempting to write his way out of here. We did not imprison him. We only delayed him. This age has become his factory, and the people are his machines. All working? Is that toiling? In his mad pursuit to become a god, to carry on his noble dunny cause. So far he has not been able to produce a fully functional book. Atrus has never believed in destiny, but I don't know what else to call it. It's too perfect. It's too much of a coincidence. They hang on my every word, though they do not understand them. I am their hope, and now I have returned. I owe this to them. There is no choice. There appears to be a drawing of the apparatus, of the telescope on the Temple Island. It has been a long time since my last entry. It is hard to recognize, but I have found the star fissure. It is located on the island which the Rivenese call Aleppo, meaning water pool, but is referred to by the Moiety as Alatuan, meaning pool of stars, or as I choose to call it, the Temple Island, because that's where Gen has built his temple. Having once allowed Atrus to escape this age without leaving an open door behind us, it has since been sealed away with the skin of heavy iron. A crude telescope has been mounted over a locked viewpoint, the combination to which was acquired by the Moiety before my arrival. Now this combination is like the lock combination in Gen's journal, is random at times. It's always different every time you start a new game, but anyway. This combination is 42542. I'll write that down anyway. Seems like at least it's a fairly straightforward combination. So that was 42542. So now we have the combination which allows us to actually open the case looking down at the fissure, and marked at the base of the telescope is a marker saying stop. It's fairly interesting.